Hello and welcome to another episode of the Socialistics Podcast. I am Jason Yormark, and today we're doing something a little bit different, but I'm excited about it. I have, a lot of agencies are shifting towards choosing a niche, and rightfully so, because it obviously streamlines things in terms of how you run an agency, and it's easier to build authority and close on leads. And we're exploring that, and one of the areas that we're exploring that around is collaborative divorce. And for some of you some of you may not even know what that is. And it's been around for quite some time, but it's still something that's up and coming, and people are learning to, they're learning, what is this? And why is it something that I should consider if I'm in a situation like that? So my quick personal story is I personally went through a divorce earlier in my life. And unfortunately for me, my introduction to collaborative divorce came a few weeks too late, literally a few weeks too late, after the paperwork was signed and went through a very painful and very expensive process. I just happened to stumble across a collaborative group in my neck of the woods that was looking for help with their marketing. And I only wish that I had met them earlier, because it probably would have saved me a lot of heartache and time and money. But the good thing that came from it was that learning about the art and science of peaceful conflict resolution, and that there's a better way for people to deal with those sorts of situations that are healthier and certainly not as just damaging, just mentally, emotionally, financially. And I learned so much by working with these folks. And over the past 7 or 8 years, I've had the luxury of being able to continue to work with some of those folks. And one of those individuals is my guest today. His name is Kevin Scudder, and he is the owner and founder of the Seattle Collaborative Law Practice over in Seattle. And Kevin, welcome to the show.
Jason, thanks for having me. Good to talk to you.
Absolutely. And full disclosure, Kevin is one of our clients. I've actually worked with Kevin for on and off over the past 7, 8 years in a variety of different roles, but we've helped him kind of launch this particular brand, and his passion and desire to continue to educate and be a thought leader around collaborative, the collaborative law. So Kevin, just share a little bit about your background and kind of pivot into, what collaborative law is, and we'll start there.
Sure. I'm actually from Omaha, Nebraska. I'm located in Seattle, Washington now, have been here since 1984. I grew up the fourth of 6 children. My dad was a lawyer. He was the legal aid attorney for Omaha, Nebraska. And somehow, he and my mom never made more than $50,000 a year, and put those of us who wanted to go through college. After 18 years, I got out of Omaha, went to college on the East Coast, ended up here in 84, tried not to be a lawyer. Jason, I did not want to follow in my father's footsteps. No. I ended up going to a temporary service and going to law firms. I had to figure it out, because the values of social justice and access to the courts and people having a voice were values that keep coming up for me, in any job that I did, any interaction. And I said, okay, I got hired by law firms, legal assistant. And I said, okay, time to go to law school. So I went to law school, and then, Jason, I litigated for 21 years. Mm-hmm. I litigated family law cases, and kind of like your experience, I got to see it from the lawyer's side of just feeling like I was doing so much damage to families and ultimately to myself, because, every morning I had to wake up and put my armor on and go to court, mm-hmm. and call people names and call people bad parents and use the court rules to, manipulate information. Eventually in 2008, I had a peer of mine say, hey, Kevin, there's this thing called collaborative practice. I think you'd be a natural at it. And I took my training in 2008, and I had this physical sense or spiritual sense, really, Jason, of coming home, that I had really found the work that I was going to do for the rest of my life. That year, I went to the annual conference for our statewide collaborative organization, and I had a vision. I had a vision. I said, you know what? I'm going to open up a collaborative law center. And at first, it was going to be Ballard Collaborative Law Center
Mm-hmm.
because I live in that part of Seattle. And it took a while. It took me 2 years to lay down my sword and shield and not do any more litigation. I opened up the doors to the Seattle Collaborative Law Center in this year, last year, June of 2020, and I'm all in on the peacemaking approach to conflict resolution. Now, collaborative practice is an organized, structured legal process. It's governed by a statute here in the state of Washington, RCW 7.77. And so there's a structure that we follow. The basics are you have two attorneys, two clients. You have a signed participation agreement, so a signed contract, because we have to modify the rules of professional conduct, which govern the way I practice law. So we have to change that. And now the key to this is that there is a disqualification provision for the lawyers. All right. I love the disqualification provision because if I can't help these people get to a resolution, it's time for me to pass the case off. The other thing about the process is the level of trust that's required in the process. And so the disqualification process, it's like in your situation, Jason,
Mm-hmm.
you never knew what the other attorney was going to do. They could hit you with interrogatories or depositions or subpoenas, and charge your soon-to-be ex, or your attorney would do it. But the collaborative process is full disclosure, good faith negotiations, transparency, open lines of communication. And because it's kind of, if you were doing a collaborative case, if you knew that your spouse's attorney was disqualified from representing her outside of the process, you would have a higher level of trust because you would know that the attorney isn't using the process to get damaging information to use against you outside the process.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the basics of the collaborative process.
And this is one of the things I love with what we're doing is that, we can be marketers for any kind of company that's selling widgets or doing all kinds of things where they're selling products and services. But there's an added layer of accomplishment and achievement that I personally feel, and I know a lot of my team feels when we're doing work in an area like this, because it's what's so surprising to me is that even after being, knowing about it over the past 7 or 8 years, is that there's still a vast majority of people in this country that have no idea what it is, and that they don't know that there's a better way and there's a better option for them. And for me, just the passion of I want to help folks like yourself. I want to be able to do what we've done for you for others. I want other people to know that there's a better way. It's always been so incredibly frustrating to me how much my life and, in essence, my kids' lives, especially financially, were impacted in a way that it didn't have to be that way. And that drives me. That drives me to do work, not only to help folks like yourself grow their practice, but to know that in a way we're also evangelizing collaborative as a practice, just getting the word out, getting people to realize that there's a better way. Because most people, they're not going to look for that. They don't know that it exists. So the more work that we can do for folks like yourself, practitioners and practices that are wanting to do this, the more familiar people are going to become with it. And I think for me, that's of all the clients that we've worked with, I take a lot of pride in knowing that I'm playing some small part in that. And I just want to do more of that. And then that's kind of the point of having this conversation with you. So in that regard, tell me, so you gave some good context, like you started with doing a little bit, the Ballard thing, and then Seattle. Since June of we've been working together on the Seattle Collaborative Law Practice brand and what you're doing under that umbrella since June of last year. What has social media and marketing and the things that you've been doing with us, how has that helped grow your practice, either in regards to driving leads, creating awareness, establishing yourself even more so as an authority on this subject in this area and beyond? I just kind of want to get a sense of authentically what has happened for you with those things and how has it made a difference for this effort?
Yeah, there's a little bit of history, and you and I have history with
Sure.
each other. And I just want to say how much I appreciate your sticking to this and your willingness to learn and get feedback about what collaborative practice means, because it means so much more than those two words. And the other part of this is that, when I was younger, I mean, I feel my age sometimes, but it's like there was a time, I played around with Twitter and I played around with Facebook and I played around with listservs without your assistance. I mean, we had meetings with Cypress and, we talked about Google search terms and we talked about, getting your name out and having a social media presence. But it's like throwing stuff out into the wind, Jason. I mean, and it was like, I didn't know where it was landing. So I was at our annual international conference in Chicago 7 or 8 years ago. And I'm in an elevator with my name tag and my ribbons of saying, hey, I'm on this committee, et cetera. And this guy looked at me and he started to stutter. He said, you're the social media guy. And I was amazed that I was seen as a social media guy because I really didn't know what I was doing. And so I came to you and I said, I got this brand, I've got this trademark, I've got this vision and passion for this work. And you listened to me, you organized me, you put together your team, who I love your team. We have monthly get-togethers to go over material, and to plan the next month's activities. And I'm too busy right now. Really, we're educating people, the public, on what collaborative practice is. And every year, every week, every month, you and your team are getting a better idea of what that brand is.
Yeah.
So, I have people calling me, all the time. And, I've got 3 legal assistants and I need another attorney or two, to start staying up with stuff. So, for me, the time investment, the monetary investment, with your assistance has more than paid for itself.
What, when you think about what's happened over the past 8 months since launching this, how many people are coming to you that, what does that look like? I mean, are they coming to you with any kind of understanding or knowledge of what collaborative law is? I'm just personally curious how when folks first approach you, how much they know about this, or is it one of those situations where, they saw a little bit or were referred and know that, hey, this is a better way to do things. I'm just kind of curious how far along they are in terms of their knowledge of what it is.
As you can imagine, it's a spectrum. People will throw around the term collaborative.
Yeah.
And you see it in other brands and other advertising. Collaborative in my realm is a capital C. Okay. And so people might come to me and use the term, but mean amicable. They don't know anything about the process. Though what you and I have done together, Jason, has helped to limit that percentage of people who are reaching out, because you've got connections to my Avo client reviews. You've got connections to my Google business reviews. The information on my website, some people may say it's too much. but there's something there. There's a lot there for everyone who goes there.
Mm-hmm.
And so the material that I have generated and put onto my website, more and more people are educating themselves when I pick up the phone.
Yeah.
I've looked at your website. I've looked at your client reviews. And then again, a lot of people are, referred by other clients
Mm-hmm.
who had their expectations exceeded, by working with my office.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that excites me the most about doing more of this type of work for folks like yourself um, is that it's just about I just lost my train of thought, but it's more about working with people that are like us. Like if you look at our core values, like I've really tried to build a team of just good people, right? And it sounds really corny, but as time has gone on, and this is probably just me becoming that old crotchety guy, and as people, as obviously as time goes on, things change in terms of our environment and how people are, but I just feel like as time has gone on, there's less and less good people in the world. Like there's so much negativity that's in the world. Like we can't disagree with people, or you can't be friends with somebody if you don't have the same exact viewpoints, and it just becomes a really hard world to navigate. And then as it pertains to the work that we do, we're selective about who we pick, what we work with. We want to work with people that are good people, that treat people well, that's so important to me. We've had client experiences where I've had to fire clients because they treat my team really poorly.
Right.
And I think one of the things that I'm so excited about when I think about doing more work under the collaborative umbrella is that if you've chosen that path, if you're walking away from the traditional and you're doing that for the right reasons, you're doing that because you got a good heart and you want to do it right by people, and just inherently, people that want to do that, there's an extremely high probability that's the kind of those are the type of people that I want to surround myself with. Like I want to be around those people. They're good people. They have good hearts. Yes, it's, we all have to make money, but they're doing it for just wholesome reasons. And I know that inherently that's makes it very likely that we're going to have a really good relationship. And that's important to me. So that's something I'm excited about in terms of being able to do this kind of work for others.
Yeah, and you always showed that in your work with Cypress. I knew you were struggling with it, of trying to understand it because your reality was different.
Yeah.
But you want to make the world a better place, and
Sure.
that I want to make a world a better place.
Yeah.
And you want to surround yourself with, people that you want to go to work with every day, and that shows through Socialistics, Jason.
Sure.
So you've been successful in putting that together.
Well, thank you. So just, I know that, part of my motivation of doing this recording with you is to be able to put this in front of other folks that maybe where you were a year ago or even a couple of years ago. I can imagine, and I'm not an expert by any means, but I would imagine it's a hard leap probably to think about a practitioner who maybe has done things the traditional path, which is maybe the low hanging fruit. Probably they make a lot more money. And then, but maybe they.
I would challenge you on that. Okay, but
okay, that's good. Well, I want to get into that. But maybe with some folks, there's a little bit of fear of walking away from maybe something that they're so comfortable with and familiar with, and then moving into something that's maybe it's a little bit more of an unknown because of the fact that the world doesn't know it as well as what they've always known. So, what are the things? What are some things that you might suggest to people that are maybe in a place like that, that can kind of alleviate maybe some of those concerns and some of the success that you've had with what you've done with us that have helped you kind of build a successful practice in this area?
So I'm going to start off by saying my income went up 35%
Really?
when I stopped litigating. Okay.
Why? So why? How is that? Why is that?
The main reason is I didn't have to write off any bills after I started doing collaborative work. Because when you're a litigator, the costs spin out of control, and I never had a 6-figure litigation case I would have
Yeah.
been embarrassed to have, a six-figure litigation case, though
Yeah.
they're routinely out there. But, clients would get in too deep. And,
Yeah. Mm.
lawyers, if they sue a client, you're going to get a bar complaint.
Mhm.
There's a higher chance of that.
Yeah.
So just by the fact that I didn't have to write off any bills, that I have 100% collection rate because my clients, you see, this process, Jason, is understanding that 99% of people don't want to go to court.
Sure.
All right. They don't want to delegate their decision making authority to a third party.
Mm-hmm.
All right. To a judge. That I don't want to work with the 1% that does, but there's 99% of people that I'm okay working with.
Yeah.
There's fear making that transition, Jason. I mean, there's collaborative professionals, lawyers, young lawyers. They've got, student loan debt, and they're saying, "Wait a minute. The traditional model is partners make money off of associates, okay? And I just put in my time. I work my way up, pay my dues, and then I'm a partner, and I'll start making money." You know what? Life is too short, is what I would say to these folks. That if you check your values, if your values are that your clients should be making their own decisions because they're the ones who have to live by what the result is, and they're the ones in charge of creating a legacy for their kids, I encourage them to go for it. There are plenty of role models of collaborative professionals around the world, not only North America, where lawyers aren't taking clients to court because we have the skills. Part of this is skill developing. We have the skills to identify what the underlying values and interests are and say, wow, you're thinking that by throwing down the gauntlet that you're going to get that. What if I told you that you could have that and more without throwing the gauntlet? A little bit of sugar, a little bit of honey is going to get you a lot farther than a jar of vinegar. So, my encouragement to folks that you're going to be working with, and I'm going to be supporting, is to say it works. There's a leap of faith that has to happen. And I just encourage them to do it. I mean, I had a vision, in 2008 and, gave up litigation around 2010 or 2011. And I love waking up and coming to work every day. Just the interactions I have. I had a consultation today, and I looked at this person on Zoom and said, if you're going to take one word of wisdom from me, don't make any decisions while you're in an emotionally distraught situation.
Yeah.
All right. Take the time, because I want you to make decisions based on good information, not under duress or coercion.
Yeah.
So, I've got two daughters. You got kids. I want the world to be a better place because my daughters are going to have families and they're going to have kids. I don't want bad divorces out there. So that's what drives me in my work.
Yeah. When I hear you when I hear you talk about that, it's just, it hits home, because when I think back to having to go through what I did, I remember just feeling like I had no idea what to do. I felt like I was just on this ticking time clock with the law firm that I had hired, which was out of necessity because my ex decided to go down that path, and I had no idea, and I never felt like I had that kind of support, like with what you just said, like you had that conversation with somebody and you're doing really what's best for them and trying to help them work through it. I never felt like it was ever that. I always felt like it was very business-like and corporate, and just so much unnecessary things that were happening. And to this day, I'm just like, God, I don't want anybody to have to go through that. And they don't have to. And I think, it's like you said, whatever those percentages are, some people probably are like, we're going to do it this way. We're going to fight and fight. I'm going to get, you can't help those people. Some people they have to be open to doing things in a more peaceful way. But there's plenty of people out there that want that don't know this. And to me, that's what drives me. Like, if 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I want to feel like I played some sort of part in making sure that everybody in this country knows that this is available to them and that they don't have to do what I did. And to me, that's the driving force. But another one of the questions I had for you is, you launched this new brand last year. Where you're at today, is it grown? Like, where you're at today, is it more or less, or where you expected to be when you first decided to do this?
More. It's exceeded my expectations, or
Mm-hmm.
it's exceeded my wildest dreams, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't have what you have. I don't have the knowledge to piece together how all this works.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how do the Facebook ads or the Google ads or the client reviews or the business reviews push my, SEO optimization? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
No idea how it works. Okay.
You don't have time for that.
I don't have time for that because I want to be present for the people that I'm working with. Yeah. So having you on my team to lead that, and it leaves me breathless. Yeah. Some weeks when the phone just keeps ringing, and I have consultation after consultation after consultation.
Yeah.
So I'm very pleased.
Yeah. Well, success breeds success. Like,
yeah.
I'm never going to take all the credit or even a significant part of it in terms of where you're at. The fact of the matter is, because who you are as a person and what you've built and your reputation, it speaks for itself. Our job is just to make sure that we get you in front of as many people as possible to experience that. And as you've built your influence and your authority in what you do, it's like I said, success breeds success. You start talking to people, people refer you. It's a multiplier effect. And if there's one takeaway for a collaborative practitioner that's maybe listening to this, or an aspiring one, is that it doesn't happen overnight. But the minute you turn that on, the minute you find the right partner, somebody that, and everybody always asks, like, what makes an agency different from another? There's plenty of talented agencies that could do great work in this space and others. What's the difference? The difference is passion, right? It's about caring about the work that you do. I mean, of all of our clients, there are varying levels of care. Like, we care about all the work that we do, but there's some clients that are doing things that are really special. And I and my team, there's just an added layer of I don't know what to call it, just oomph, or just more behind it when you authentically care about it and you want to see it do really well. And that's why I'm really interested in kind of moving, our focus in this area, because one of my best mentors said to me, he said, when we were talking about, as an agency, it's like, you have to niche. And I'm like, I know, but we're doing pretty good. And I'm afraid to do that. And I said, like, what do I pick? What do I do? I don't know. And he's like, and the one thing he told me is, like, there's money in everything. He said, pick the thing that you're passionate about or care about. That's all. That should be the only thing that should drive your decision around that. And the minute he said that, I'm like, okay, I know what that is then. And that's when you and I had a conversation a couple months ago. And I knew I wanted to do it the right way. And so it's encouraging and awesome to hear how well you're doing, and that we've been able to play a part in that. And I'm really excited to kind of see, what's progressing for you. One last question I had for you, and outside of the results, but you already had a reputation, obviously, outside of leads and people coming to you wanting your services. Has there been any other added benefits to this work that you've done, this brand? Has it led to, do you feel like it's led to any other sorts of opportunities for you in terms of increasing your circle of influence?
Absolutely. And I mean, in a way, those are unending, Jason. Mm-hmm. I mean, it kind of gets overwhelming of all the opportunities that are out there. I mean, over the last year, I've done trainings virtually, in Oklahoma, in South Dakota, in Utah. I've got one coming up in Pennsylvania. So I'm being asked, by different collaborative communities to appear in their community. I've been mentoring, newer collaborative and experienced collaborative professionals, and so they've been coming to me. And I know I have a book in me. It's just taking the time to sit down and focus on that and go deeper. So, but really the other opportunity, Jason, is the financial security that is coming as a result of our partnership is allowing me to go deeper into collaborative practice, to understand it, understand that passion, and understand how it works, and understand what rings people's hearts and their bells, so that then I can bring that information back and work with you to design a campaign that touches on different things. So there's a circle element, where the circle is closed of our interacting and working with each other.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, our ability to work well with you has a lot to do with you sharing your learnings and what you're experiencing in your world. Without that, our work can never be as great as it can be. And I think that, and another big takeaway for those that are listening is that that's the other part of this, is that we've learned so much working with you. We feel like we're becoming subject matter experts. We feel like we've really zeroed in on a formula of success. I don't want that to go to waste.
Right.
I want to extend that to other folks. I mean, we've got a formula for success. As long as we don't, do it in your market, there's no reason not to share that knowledge, with others to help them go down the same path and have the same levels of success. So it's been fantastic, and I'm super appreciative of you taking out some time out of your busy schedule to kind of share some of those insights. Is there anything that I didn't ask, or anything that you want to share that you might think be helpful before we kind of wrap things up?
I guess I'd just go back to the commitment. It takes a commitment. And you encouraged me to make that commitment, and I delayed for a certain period of time. Yeah. And then once making the commitment, it all, it took a few months, but it all starts to make sense.
Yeah. No, I love that. And that's good insight. Doesn't happen overnight. And, I've never been the hard salesperson. I always look at, we say no to a lot. And the things that we say yes to, we know that we're going to do really well with. And when clients are able to take a leap of faith with us, it always leads to good places for both ends.
Yeah. One last tagline, Jason, is I will share with you, is that clients are coming to me and they're saying, I want what you have. So my wish for you is that collaborative clients are going to come to you and say, Jason, you and Socialistics have what I want.
Yeah.
So I want to work with you. So that's where I think you're headed.
Well, I hope so. My hope and dream is that I can get let's see, there's 50 states, 49 more of you, one in each state. Let's say I'd be thrilled if we can knock it out of the park for a collaborative practice in every state. Like, that would be the most amazing finish line for me. So
the world would be a better place, but I do feel very special, being the first one in your stable. So
yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Just for folks listening, whether personally or professionally, where can they find you?
You can go to seattleclc.com, and that'll be the Seattle Collaborative Law Center website.
Awesome. Kevin, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Jason, thanks for having me. Take care.
Absolutely. That'll do it for this week's episode of Socialistics. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We will catch you at our next episode.